So, what's India actually going to look like in 2026? It's a lot closer than you might think. And we're not just guessing here. We've dug into the data from the big forecasters. Think Goldman Sachs, the IMF, the RBI, to give you a really clear, data driven look at what's coming. Let's dive right in. All right, so what's the big headline? Well, India is set to be the world's fastest growing major economy. I mean, just look at this chart. We are talking about a projected GDP growth of around 6.7% for 2026. In a world where there's so much economic uncertainty, that is a huge deal. It's really what's making India stand out on the global stage. But, as you can probably guess, is that incredible growth the whole story? No, of course not. The reality is, well, it's way more complex. For India, 2026 is shaping up to be this fascinating balancing act between these massive, country-defining opportunities on one side and some pretty serious challenges on the other. Okay, so let's start with the engine room, the economy. We're going to look at both the fuel that's pushing it forward and the friction that could, slow it all down. So, what's actually driving this incredible momentum? Well, it's this powerful mix of things all working together. First, you've got a massive influx of foreign investment. We're talking over $80 billion, with giants like Google and Amazon really betting big. Then you have new trade deals with places like the UK and the EU that are set to give exports a real boost. And crucially, right here at home, with inflation expected to drop, people will just have more money to spend. That is a huge, huge boost for the domestic economy. But of course, it's not all smooth sailing. India is facing some pretty serious economic headwinds. I mean, global trade tensions could totally throw a wrench in the works. The rupee is under a lot of pressure. And here's the big question that kind of looms over everything. Can job creation actually keep up with this super fast growth? Because if it can't, we could see problems like rising inequality become even more serious. To put all of this into perspective, these forces are projected to push India's nominal GDP to a staggering $4.6 trillion by 2026. Now, this isn't just some economic milestone, it's a number that represents a massive shift in global influence and just incredible potential right here at home. Now, you can't talk about a $4.6 trillion story without talking about technology. And this is where things get really, really interesting, because the opportunities for innovation are just massive, but so are the risks to society. This slide, it lays out India's AI journey perfectly. It all kicks off with a flood of investment, which honestly is already happening. That money is what's fueling this incredible boom in innovative startups, changing everything from how we bank to healthcare. But then come the tough questions. How do you regulate this powerful new technology responsibly? And what does it really mean for jobs? These are the challenges India's going to have to figure out in 2026. So, what's the government's role in all of this? Let's take a look at the political landscape and how India is planning to position itself on the world stage come 2026. You have to understand, India is basically playing a two-level game. At home, the focus is on these really key reforms in areas like agriculture and labor, boosting rural employment, and maybe even some tax changes. But then on the world stage, it's all about locking in major trade deals and strengthening alliances through groups like BRICS, that's Brazil, Russia, China, and South Africa, and the Quad, which is the alliance with the US, Japan, and Australia. Okay, so we've talked economics, we've talked politics, but what is 2026 actually gonna feel like for the millions of people living through it? Let's bring these big forecasts down to earth and look at the moments that bring a nation together: culture and sports. And 2026 is going to be a year just packed with action. We've got the men's T20 Cricket World Cup, co-hosted with Sri Lanka, kicking things off. Then you have the incredible celebrations of Holi and Diwali, plus major international competitions like the Commonwealth and Asian Games. It is absolutely going to be a year to remember. But let's be honest, for hundreds of millions of people, one day is going to stand above all the others. February 15th, 2026, India versus Pakistan in the T20 World Cup. It is so much more than a game. It's a massive cultural event, and it's happening right at the start of the year. So, when you put it all together, the economic firepower, the tech disruption, the political agenda, and the pulse of society, you start to see two very distinct paths emerging for the future. So, it really all boils down to this. On one path, if everything goes right, India's economy could soar towards $6 trillion by 2030, becoming a global powerhouse in technology. But on the other path, if those challenges, like job creation and inequality, aren't handled well, that incredible growth could stall.
2026 really is a critical turning point. Which brings us to the final question, and this one is for you. As you look toward 2026, based on everything we've just talked about, what is your biggest hope for India? And on the flip side, what's your biggest fear? Because really, the answer to that question is what will truly define the story of the nation.